Okay. Take it off mute. Good evening, Concord Township. We are going to call to order the Concord Township Board of Trustee meeting for May 20th, 2020. We stand and pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Dawson, the roll call, please.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present.
Mr. McIntosh.
Present.
Mr. Dondorfer.
Present. We will move to approve the minutes of the May 6th, 2020 regular trustee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the meeting minutes from May 6th.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we will move into the elected officials report with Mrs. Lucci first. I'm sorry, Mrs. Dawson. I apologize.
That's okay,
I'm
Mr.
getting ahead
Dondorfer.
of the game here.
Normally I probably wouldn't have a report because it's the second meeting of the month, but I just wanted to say that one of the requirements of my office is that at least every 4 years I personally attend the records training that the Attorney General puts on. And myself, our new Assistant Fiscal Officer, Mr. McIntosh and Mr. Rose all had the pleasure of sitting through the 3 hours records training. I know Mr. Dondorfer took it last year,
Yes.
and Mr. Rose took it from Mr. Dondorfer and Mrs. Lucci this year. So they'll get the pleasure of doing that some other year. But that requirement has been fulfilled. I have to fulfill an ethics training, and then I have to continue to get my 6 hours of fiscal officer training every year, which I hope to get the end of June this year, so if it's not canceled again. But and then I just wanted to wish everybody a safe Memorial Day coming up on Monday. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson. Now, Mrs. Lucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to first extend my support, encouragement to anybody who's suffering still with this pandemic. We know there are very uncertain times yet ahead, but still important to remain determined and focused. Again, with Memorial Day upon us, I express my sincere gratitude for those who have served, those who continue to put themselves out there for others. Greatly appreciate that. And last, congratulations to the seniors who are graduating. Commencement means beginning. I think we can all take that meaning in moving forward ourselves with the community. Thank you.
Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm excited to see that our economy and our communities are starting to open. I think it's nice to, spring's happening. We had some nice weather today, and I can say as a small business owner and person that's got people working for them, and as a representative of the community here, it's good to see the economy starting to loosen up. Businesses need it. I continue to think it's important that we as a community be respectful of everybody's different opinions, and it's very obvious that we have not only a diversity of opinion, but an extremes of regarding how we're responding to this. So continue to urge everyone to be respectful of people's opinions. If you're concerned about being out and about, then I hope that you just take precaution when you have to go out and maybe stay home. And for those that go out, be respectful of the fact that some people are a little hesitant or comfortable, and try to just be tolerant of that. We've got our businesses in Concord. I know it's been hard for some of them. I've talked with the owners, so I encourage everyone to patronize our local businesses and be out and do as much as you're comfortable with. Again, I also would like to echo Ms. Lucci's comments regarding our seniors that are graduating from high school. I definitely, an interesting time to graduate, and I feel bad that a lot of them have had the end of their school year change pretty dramatically. But I encourage them to move on, move forward, and look to their horizon positively. As Ms. Dawson said, I did the Sunshine Law training and dealing with some resident things. We had some conversations with residents about Parkside Elementary. I've had some stormwater problems on Sara Lee that we're working on, and talked with a few businesses about zoning and some economic development. Some people want to locate here, so a bunch of things going on. And I'd like to also wish everybody a safe and happy Memorial Day.
Great, thank you. I also hope all of our residents in Concord Township are doing well with the governor lifting the safe at home order and implementing the new health advisory. I hope everybody is personally responsible and sees what they need to do as far as following those requirements as we move into the summer and the holiday weekend. As Mr. McIntosh stated, everybody has different opinions, and we have to respect everybody's opinions and do what we think is best, but still follow the guidelines set forth by the state to try to get through this collectively and together. I did entertain a few calls from some residents this past week. We had a couple issues with stormwater backing up at a culvert over on Auburn Road at Ellison Creek. I believe that was remedied. We got on that rather quickly. There was some concerns about a sign for a Dollar General that was going to be erected on apparently residential property over at 608 and Girl Road. We were able to verify through a resident over there that was just a practical joke on another resident, and there is no Dollar General going in at that location. So if anybody saw that and had any concerns, it is not happening. We did have some other issues regarding some concerns of traffic complaints, speeding vehicles on Rolling Acres as well as Tanglewood. We are working with the Sheriff's Department to get some increased presence there and do some public relations and some traffic enforcement, as well as doing some sign postage to notify people traveling those residential streets that there are a number of children living in those areas that play in the cul-de-sac. So we handle those calls. I will tell you that we, due to the lifting of some of the orders from the governor's office, we are going to be working here at the township reevaluating some of our programs in some of our departments, especially recreation, and looking at how we can move our summer forward with our recreation department and still adhere to the guidelines set forth by the governor. I also would like to echo our congratulations to our seniors that are graduating. We wish you all the best even during this difficult time. And we also, everybody here hopes that everybody has a safe Memorial Day and stay safe. So with that, we'll move on to department reports and administration. Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer, members of the board, Mrs. Dawson, members of the audience. Good evening. Just to reiterate what Mrs. Dawson said, on May 12th, I did attend the Ohio Attorney General's Public Records Training webinar. It was a lovely 3 hours. I attended this session on behalf of the trustees. This training is required pursuant to Ohio Revised Code sections 109.43 Bravo and 149.43 Echo 1. The certificate of completion is here on file at the township. I'd like to again strongly encourage all residents who have not yet completed the census to please get that done soon. We are the top community in Lake County, and we're one of the top communities in the state as far as responses, but the census is important. It helps our community. And so I'd like to encourage everyone that has not done that to please complete that. And for those of you who have completed it, thank you very much. With regard to COVID-19, our offices at Town Hall are open to the public based on updated guidance. I know that, as Mr. Dondorfer stated, Recreation is looking to move some things forward, and we're evaluating how we conduct business here. Moving forward. We do encourage visitors to wear a mask when they visit Town Hall. We encourage you to conduct your business initially by phone, fax, email, or regular mail. We continue to utilize the drop box, but we are open here at Town Hall. Any questions or concerns, the Lake County General Health District has the lead on that. There is a link on our website that will take you directly to their page. And there's contact information, frequently asked questions, and all their latest situational report updates are there for anyone who wishes to look at those. We continue to stay in regular contact with the Lake County mayors and managers. We're continuing to coordinate during our regularly scheduled conference calls. As brought up by Mr. McIntosh, please remember our local businesses have started to open up, and we encourage all of our residents to shop local when you're considering your purchases and help support those local businesses right here in Concord Township. Stormwater was touched on. I believe we had 15 calls from the rainstorms. The majority of those are resolved. I know that there is a meeting with Tim Brown, our service director. He's working with Lake County Soil and Water and Lake County Stormwater to resolve those few outstanding issues. And I know that they have a meeting tomorrow to hammer those out to see what we can do about some drainage enhancements. And then finally, a note about Memorial Day from our cemetery sexton. In honor of those who have selflessly given and valiantly served our nation, we thank you. The cemetery staff has created a tribute video since we do not have the opportunity to be at the cemetery on Monday, and that is posted on our YouTube channel as well as the cemetery page at our website at concordtwp.com under departments. And hats off, the cemetery staff did an excellent job creating a wonderful tribute video for Memorial Day.
It's beautiful.
It really is an outstanding.
It is. It's moving. That being said, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. We are on to our audience portion of the program tonight. Is there anybody on the line? Please state your name and address and go ahead with your question. Hello? Nobody is there. Seeing that we have nobody on the line, we will move along into old business. And seeing that we have none, we will move into new business. And item number 8 tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote on the resolution 2020-15 to approve the 2021 tax budget.
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution 2020-16 declaring certain personal property of the Township Fire Department surplus and not needed. So we're looking to, which it was required, we
It's a
selling?
1998 Spartan Ferrera fire engine.
And we're selling that.
We're hoping to sell it.
So I move to proceed with that sale.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I vote on, I move that we vote on the Service Department's purchase order to Elemental Shelter Solutions LLC in the amount of $15,978.32 for the purchase of a 40x60 fabric salt storage structure.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move to extend seasonal employment to Stephen Ettinger at $11 per hour, effective May 21st, 2020 through August 29th, 2020, pending completion of new hire paperwork.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote on the Fire Department's PO to Motorola Solutions in the amount of $31,125.20 for the purchase of 8 radios.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we're going to set a public hearing for zoning map amendment and preliminary plan application 0320-2, submitted by Summers Real Estate Group LLC for proposed residential conservation development R2 RCD district for approximately 29.6 acres of land owned by Colburn Development LLC, located off of Colburn Road and currently known as permanent parcel number 08-A-001-2-B-00-018-0 and 08-A-1-2-B-00-009-0. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that give that hearing a half hour, so I would start that hearing at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
For the next trustees meeting, which
On
would be
June 7th,
June 3rd,
3rd. Okay.
7 o'clock p.m.
June 3rd at 7 o'clock p.m.
Will we move up office hours or just shorten it?
Your call.
You want to move up office hours for 6 o'clock? Is that feasible?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll move up office hours on the 3rd till 6 o'clock. Set the public hearing for 7 p.m. and then followed by the trustee meeting at 7:30. We will now move on to a fire station project update. As we've discussed in the past with our residents. At this point in time, I'm going to have Administrator Rose and our fire chief go over a summary of the project, and then we will have some discussion between the trustees and move on from there.
Good evening again. Chief and I, and Deputy Chief, we've been talking, and we thought it would be appropriate to just give a quick fire station update on the fire station project. I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about where we've been. You know, the original concept plan and looking through the records back in 2007, 2008, former fire chief Mike Warner started the initiative to upgrade the fire stations. The original plan was to put an addition on Station 1, basically double its size, and then also build 2 new stations. So there would be a double the size of Station 1, and then replace Station 2 with the new station, and then create a 3rd station at or near Auburn Career Center. And then as things evolved, the situation did not move forward. Then we entered into an agreement with the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association, and we had the Ohio Fire Chiefs Study of 2017, which I believe all of you have read. And that is also available online for anybody who wants to read that. In addition, Chief Sabo started attending the fire station design conferences. He's been there the last 3 years to further educate himself on fire station design and construction. In 2018, we started the request for qualification process, and then subsequently we received, I think it was 13 statements of qualification from 13 architectural firms. That was pared down to 3. Those 3 architectural firms were then brought into a public meeting and interviewed by the current board of trustees, along with fire department leadership, fiscal officer. No, you
I was
there?
not, no, I was out of town when they were
That's right.
doing that.
Sorry, and I was there. And that's where our current architect was selected. The initial designs were created with heavy input by our firefighters that were on the design team working with the architect. We used line firefighters and some of our lieutenants, and obviously our chief and deputy chief worked into that. Had a good plan and put it to the voters in order to finance the bond issue to finance the station. That was defeated, and that's basically where we are right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Chief as to where we are right now, and then I'll be back.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Thank you, trustees. So where we're at now is, in terms of the project, is we continue to, myself, the trustees, deputy chief, and the committee, the fire department committee, continue to visit fire stations in the area. We've been to Lafayette Township, North Ridgeville, and we've visited a few others. Talked to several fire chiefs about their projects, both locally and throughout the country, just to get their input, just to get their ideas, what worked, what didn't work, what would you do different. talking not just to the chiefs, but to the firefighters. What makes this station work, or what makes it more difficult? We performed internal reviews of fire department operations and the programming that goes along with it. So the programming in terms of the fire station design. The fire department has gone back through the initial design in detail for additional modifications to the plan to see if there is something that we missed that would not be negatively impacted by our operations, or would not negatively impact our operations. Geotechnical evaluation for an alternate site for Station 1. We received information from the architects that building on the soccer field does not necessarily result in a savings. That's bad soil that's going to present a challenge. So it really becomes a wash between the parking lot original site and the soccer field site. We still have the option to choose either location, depending on what we feel would be best going forward. We have the fire department, myself specifically, has discussed with the architect the ability to construct the new Station 2 on the current site while maintaining some level of staffing for that area. Originally, they didn't think it was feasible. Now they seem to think that there's more of a possibility that can still happen. So that's good news. That keeps us in that area, responding to calls, and provides some additional or continued coverage for Station 2 area.
Thank you, Chief.
In addition to the fire department's internal reviews, we're taking a look at finances to produce options on how we're going to pay for these stations. Borrowing without any additional revenue limits our ability for unanticipated but significant costs, such as a major road catastrophe. Back in 2007, 2008, we were doing a simple repaving of a road. When they skinned the top layer of the road off, it collapsed, and a $100,000 repave went in excess of $1 million that was not budgeted for. Those things happen from time to time. You don't want them to happen, but they happen. And and then we're also looking at, and I've reached out to our state representative, Jamie Callender, and we don't have any clarity yet, but we're trying to figure out what the impact of local government, possible local government fund reductions. Our hotel revenue is way down. JED revenue right now is holding its own, but there are hospitals that have, the predominant source of income from the JED are the medical facilities. It's not a surprise. Lake Health and UH over there on Auburn Road. And if they decide to pare down based on the impacts of COVID and their expenses, there's a trickle-down theory that comes to us as well. So we're still looking at that. We're evaluating. We're going through it. I'm running various scenarios on how we're going to pay for these. I'm talking to Amy Dawson, our fiscal officer, and just trying to work through this and trying to anticipate what's going to happen. I think we'll have a little bit more clarity. The state fiscal year ends June 30th. Prior to that, we should know what the impacts to local government funds are going forward. I'm not a negative Nelly, but I'm a firm believer that if the state takes away local government funds next year, we won't get those back, just like we didn't get them back during the previous governor's administration. They just don't come back. So those are the things we're looking at. And then I'll get into the stakeholder meeting piece at the end, but I want to give it back to Chief for the what's next.
Thank you. So in terms of what the fire department's doing, we're going to continue our internal reviews of programming. Nobody knows better than our firefighters, our operation. So we want to make sure that we look at absolutely every corner of these designs that have been established so far, and seeing how we can modify them to make things more feasible. We're going to continue reviewing other stations and visiting. These have been very difficult with the COVID restrictions. Our fire station remains closed, as do many in the area. So it's very difficult to get into those at this time. But once we have that opportunity, we're going to be back in and visiting and talking to other departments. Just like we always have, we're going to continue to collect citizen input. Once again, we urge everyone that has questions on design and operations of the fire department to reach out to the fire department, myself. We'll be happy to answer your questions. I'll be happy to hear what you have to offer. And then we'll be still evaluating which station to build first, if it's going to be station 1 or station 2. There's pros and cons both ways. So we're looking at those and see what makes the most sense. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
The final piece of this is stakeholder meetings. We've talked about conducting and you know, I'm not going to blame COVID for everything, but if we didn't have COVID-19, we more than likely would have had a stakeholder meeting already. We would have already had one under our belt by now. But I think it's time, you know, they've been on hold, but I think it's time to start planning to have one in June. Depending on the health department guidance, it may end up being a virtual meeting. I would much rather have a gathering meeting, but we'll continue to monitor for that. Maybe we schedule it and we pray for good weather, and we have a meeting at the gazebo, set up a sound system, everybody can socially distance like they would, almost like if it was a summer concert. So at this point, I'm going to ask the trustees to look at some dates, so maybe we can announce a placeholder where we, you know, we're gonna work on the venue, but the health department guidance is evolving. So, but I think we need to get a placeholder out there so that we can let folks know when we are thinking about having this meeting. I recommend early evening, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So at this point, that concludes our short update. I just want to mention one other thing, because I've picked up crosstalk here and there. No one has redesigned the fire stations. The designs that we had back in August, September, October, that we put on our website, that we showed to the voters prior to the vote, that's these plans right here. They have not changed. We haven't redesigned, we haven't leaned forward. We are looking forward to some stakeholder meetings, and then break off into those 3 subgroups.
Right.
Where we talk about financing, we talk about fire and EMS operations, and we talk about architecture and construction, and we start soliciting the input from the stakeholders at the stakeholder meeting. And as Chief said, you know, anybody can call us at any time to have those discussions prior to the stakeholder meeting. So at this point, that concludes our short update on where we've been, where we're at, where we're going. And I would just recommend that we get a placeholder date out there for a stakeholder meeting. And then if any of the trustees want to throw any comments out, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rose, and thank you, Chief. Very thorough summary of the status of the fire station project. I'm sure we are all in agreement here that we all agree that this project needs to move forward and needs to get accomplished, as well as I believe the residents do also. It's important that even though we're going through this crisis, we still have a focus on moving this project forward. So that's why I think, you know, we're going to make good on our promise. We need to have a stakeholder meeting sooner than later. I would recommend that we look at, I was just looking at my calendar. I don't know if it's good with either of you, but June 16th, which is a Tuesday, the day before the second staff meeting of the month, maybe it's 7 o'clock.
Trustee meeting?
Yeah, trustee.
Yeah, before the next trustee meeting, we would do the stakeholder meeting on June 16th around 7 o'clock, which would be a Tuesday. And like Mr. Rose indicated, that might be some type of hybrid stakeholder meeting. If we have good weather, that we can do something outside, as well as have some people on a Zoom or virtually to get more people involved. I think it's important that we get input from the onset and the beginning of moving this project forward. As Mr. Rose said, these are the initial plans and they have not been changed, but it's important that we get input and some ideas and some opinions from people in the community so we can move this thing forward, because we need to move forward. So I would recommend our first stakeholder meeting being June 16th at 7 o'clock. Either of you good with that, or if you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm good with that date. June 16th at 7 p.m. works for me. And I just wanted to acknowledge Chief Sabo, Mr. Rose, for giving us a nice update, kind of presenting the challenges where we're at. Agree, we need to, keep moving forward. We do have to service our community with a fire department that can do their job. So I think it is important to get going with the stakeholder meetings.
Yeah, the 16th is fine with me, and I maybe we do the hybrid thing. I mean, I know we've had times here, it's town hall, zoning, and different things where we've not had physical capacity with the COVID restrictions. I think we're going to have an issue. So I think a hybrid solution of, if we can pull off some, and then hey, if we're full up or people just say, hey, I don't want to leave home, having that's a nice option for folks that just want to stay home. I think it's important to get a date on the calendar. We have had to hold this off. I know we'd all prefer to have a traditional face-to-face meeting, and that's just probably not going to be possible. But rather than to hold it off any longer, I'd like to get out there. As I've had a lot of dialogue, or not a lot, but a fair amount of dialogue with some people in the community, and I've at the recommendation or sharing of some of the residents, I've looked at some other stations. I've participated in the tours, and there's definitely a lot of other points, and I think some dialogue at this point would be healthy. I've seen a lot of different things, and there's definitely pros and cons, and I know people have questions. I also think that our architect would be willing to participate, and I think virtual, being as that they're not local, might be a nice option for them to be able to come in and answer some questions for us. I also think we had a chance to learn a little bit about fire operations as a new board here, but while we endure this crisis, and it's taught us some things, and I've seen some value of the thinking and where we're going forward, and I'd like the opportunity to share that with the community and answer questions and dialogue about it. So overdue and ready to go.
I agree. I mean, we are obligated to move this thing forward for not only community, but for our firefighters, our safety services, and we'll have the stakeholder meeting and start this thing. So with that, we look at June 16th. For those of you who are listening tonight, it's 7 o'clock, and the venue will be addressed here shortly.
We'll announce it once we get some updated health department guidance, probably after the long weekend is my guess.
But for those of you that would like to participate, June 16th at 7 o'clock, our first stakeholder meeting for the fire station project. With that, we will move on to future meetings and announcements. And Mrs. Dawson, if you would have the honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. On Monday, May 25th, we closed in observance of Memorial Day. The Memorial Day service that we usually have at noon will be canceled due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Again, as Mr. Rose said, please visit our website, cemetery department page for tribute. They did a really, really nice job. So Friday, May 29th at 9 a.m., there's going to be a staff meeting, where to be determined. If it's Zoom or not Zoom, I think that all depends on what the governor says.
Yeah, I anticipate that will be a Cisco WebEx, and we will publish that well in advance and advertise it.
On Tuesday, June 2nd at 7 p.m., zoning commission meeting. Also, same thing. It'll either be here at town hall or via WebEx. On Wednesday, June 3rd at 6 p.m., trustee office hours are going to be set here at Town Hall. 7 p.m., the zoning public hearing for Summers Real Estate Group. Immediately following, or at 7:30, the regular trustee meeting will be held here. And as Mr. Dondorfer just said, trustees are looking at scheduling their first stakeholders meeting at June 16th at 7 p.m. somewhere on Town Hall campus.
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson. With that, we thank all that have attended our meeting tonight virtually, and we wish you all a safe holiday weekend. Thank you very much, and we will end this Concord Township Trustee meeting.